Hi everyone, my name is Anthony Scavarelli. Some of you might know me as your professor. Some of you probably know me as your peer or colleague. And I'm just going to talk briefly about my journey through finding this BIT program, going through it, and then kind of what I did after roughly. And it's just a meandering journey through art, academia, research, and love, and lots of failures. You never get used to them, honestly, but it ended up being the easy part because the hard part was just kind of knowing where to go and where to fail or not, hopefully, next. Um, so I really enjoy trying to connect people together. I'm a researcher exploring inclusive VR and social learning spaces as a Carleton University adjunct research professor at the Carleton School of IT recently, and I'm also an Algonquin College professor in the BIT IMD program, and so I teach Introduction to 3D, something we added a few years ago, 3D animation, sensor-based interaction, and also Design Studio 3, which the last few years we've been focusing a lot on virtual reality. Also a social interactive artist. I haven't been doing as much as I'd like the last few years due to kind of the focus on research and work and family. So I'm a bit lapsed, but I'm always kind of trying to include it as much as I can. At the very least, kind of the ideas of it help guide a lot of the research I do. And I'm also a father of three, which helps keeps technologies fresh. They have children have a really interesting perspective. They can often quickly tell you if something is usable or not. And also, there's lots of interesting kind of situations you get put in. Like, for example, on the right here, I was doing a research presentation at Carleton, and I brought my daughter thinking, hey, it's a great experience for her to learn kind of what daddy's doing and maybe it'll inspire in the future. I don't know, right? But she was just kind of running around wild, so I actually had to hold her during my presentation. So my motivation is a picture of my murder wall, as I like to call it, where I was kind of putting all these ideas from all over the place together for my thesis. But the motivation, I have three kind of questions that guide me kind of through life in general, but also but through professionally as well. So the first is kind of what is reality? It's such a reality is so subjective, right? It's based on our senses, it's based on our experiences and how we understand what we see, hear, smell, touch. Um, and it's just a fascinating idea that we all kind of perceive it slightly differently, and that we may have a message we want to tell people, but that message may be received a little differently from each. So to say the same thing, we have to do it a little bit differently. Um, um, I think back to the shadows on a cave wall, right? This idea that reality is what we see it as one way, um, but perhaps like this kind of shadows on a cave wall. But if we leave it, right, all of a sudden now we have this immersive 3D space, and how does that change the way we think? And think about our reality itself, and also our connections to it and each other. And that leads me to like, how can we change reality? So, one amazing thing about technology is, it's becoming so immersive, not just like virtual reality or even just this futuristic version of what virtual reality could be as a holodeck or danger room or whatever, or the Matrix, but also just like connecting each other through social media or through these mobile screens, or when I was doing my artwork, projected LED sculptures and projections on the wall. you know um, how do we create these really interesting, powerful experiences that we couldn't feel in just reality, physical reality, or how can we use digital tools to help connect us even more to our physical reality and those around us? And then finally, it leads me to how can we connect and include everyone, and not just using these new technologies, these new realities, but also creating them, helping define what the future could look like. So the journey is kind of a series of questionable choices, starting with questionable choice number one, which some of us could probably relate to. I followed a significant other, my girlfriend, to the time to university. I was going to go into math physics honors. I figured I could just do that anywhere, so I'll go with her. I wanted to be a theoretical physicist. All the check boxes were there, lots of high grades, scholarships, so on and so forth. But I just wasn't ready, right? It just didn't work out. There's lots of stuff going on. I probably should have took a break. And I lost my scholarship, lost my savings, and I lost the girlfriend. Which leads me to questionable choice number two. I had to go back home, take a couple of years to kind of figure things out. What's the next direction? I was working as a cook at a video game store, and it was tough, right? And I kind of kept thinking, like, is this what I want to do? Is this fine? Am I comfortable doing this? But I kept finding these new tools. I learned about 3D, creating your own 3D models. I found this personal learning edition of Maya at the time. I started teaching myself. I found some programming, started teaching myself some programming, some web design, creating Nintendo fan sites, learned about Photoshop and found all these cool tools and tutorials. And I was just like, how do I keep doing this? How do I get more direction? So leads me to question choice number 3 is go back to university. But the problem was I couldn't choose one interest. I wanted to choose them all, 3D, 2D, programming. And somehow through my searches, I found this BIT IMD program, which was just a couple of years old at the time, I think. So I was happy to have another chance, and I was happy that I didn't have to choose yet. Spoiler alert, I never really chose. I'm kind of still doing it all. So questionable choice number 4, just kind of zooming ahead, is I decided that C++ was fun in Design Studio 3 with James Akers, as many of you probably fondly remember. I was amazed by the work done. He introduced us to processing and Java, and that there were these artists using these processing or Java tools to create art, interactive art that is like the true embodiment of art and the observer, and how intrinsically connected they are to not just offering their perception of it and the reality of it, but also, intrinsically being able to interact with it and change it. That was really powerful. So it was very, very inspirational. And I decided I wanted to do more and add more pieces. I needed more power, needed to connect to more arcane libraries. So C++ it is with open frameworks. I had memory leaks, many crashes, and threading issues, and so on and so forth. But I learned a lot, which kind of continuing from there, question choice number 5 was like, hey, I'm going to keep using these C++ skills and build my own 3D interactive engine. OpenGL, SL, C++, hey, how hard could it be, right? And I kind of put it together, and, we did get it done with my team, Grant Lucas, Tatsuro Takara, Henry Kushkovitz, Thomas Breffett, and Alan Young. We did a really cool kind of interactive fish aquarium. You can connect and create your own fish and communicate with them using texting, and there was a big projection screen, so you're in the tank, and then there was a little tank outside that connected to it. I wish I could have had a lot more features to really kind of push home that concept. Maybe we should have used Unity or Unreal. But again, questionable choice, but learned a lot, even if there wasn't as much, to show for it at the time. And then, soon after school, questionable choice number 6 is like finding, I had trouble settling in just one space. I worked at the government, a small game studio, design company, a museum, coffee shop, selling computers, a lot of freelance, just a bunch of random jobs. And I just had trouble finding something that was challenging, that valued my time and my skill sets. Which leads me to question choice number 7, which is, hey, I can't find what I'm looking for. I'll just create it myself. So I co-founded an interactive art and installation business, or Arts Group is my partner, who Henry Kushkovitz, and I would vacillate back and forth on, depending on which client we were talking to. We did lots of cool projects in Ottawa and beyond, and we had an Amsterdam Children's Festival. We worked with the International Jazz Festival and Children's Festival. However, we found it very difficult to scale, like building these physical pieces that were then augmenting with these virtual technologies, like projection mapping and connecting with them with Twitter, or 3000 LED interactive sculptures in Little Italy. And it just a lot of time and effort and resources, and we didn't really make much money at all. In fact, with all our time and resources, probably lost money. And eventually, after a few years, I had to make better financial choices. My son was just born at the time, and I figured, hey, and I just spoke to Dr. Ali Arya and about a master's, this new HCI master's that started up. And I figured, hey, I could probably make more money being a TA and RA than I am at Lumen Artists, and then I can also do some part-time teaching or something. So I joined that. I did some embodied collaborative social interactives, kind of inspired by the stuff I did with Lumen Artists. And I enjoyed it so much. Question was number 9, right? Not often recommended to do, take education so far, but I decided I wanted to keep doing research. I really enjoyed it. I wanted to be an example for my children because and I was really interested in virtual reality and wanted to help shape kind of the future of it, its new growth. And maybe spite is also a good motivator. I had after my master's, I had a interview. I went through several interviews, and I had a lot of the team really vouching for me. But once I got to the final interview for this really big tech company in doing research and development in California, he seemed so disinterested at the time in the interview. And then the only thing I remember is that he said, "Well, everyone in our lab has PhDs." So I figured, well, I guess I gotta get one of those too. So I joined that. I worked on virtual reality and social learning spaces, but with Dr. Eliaria and Dr. Rob Tether. And I finished it, questionable choice number 10, but decided I wanted to keep doing it somehow. So I'm still kind of working on what that looks like as an independent researcher in a college role. But I really enjoy doing it. I'm happy to have the adjunct position and still being able to collaborate with Carleton researchers. I think research is a great way to continue creating, thinking about, the past, present, and future of these technologies and exploring, these increasingly ambiguous boundaries between the physical and virtual in society and culture. So lessons learned. Basically, don't be afraid of being uncomfortable. I found that when I got comfortable, I got bored. So I tried to always stay in a position of not knowing what I'm doing, which can be tough and, has burned me a few times, admittedly. But I'm always up for new adventures. I try to say yes to everything, which again has also burned me a few times, but has led to lots of interesting opportunities also. I try to connect and grow with the communities around me. So the BIT IMD program community is a great one. The arts community here in Ottawa and beyond, the game development community. There's so many, the human-computer interaction or HCI communities. There's many people around who are in similar paths, and it's always nice to connect with them. I found that uncertainty is okay, or I learned to be okay with it. There's just many surprising paths, right? And I truly do believe that the BIT IMD program is uniquely well positioned to help grow kind of the natural curiosity and skill sets of those who really want to explore these kind of uncertain emerging frontiers of technology. So I'll leave it at that for now. If you want to chat some more, if you have any questions, feel free to email me at any of these emails. My website's there on the QR code. And we can also chat at the BIT event. I look forward to seeing you all. Take care.